Welcome to our webinar regarding emerging technologies 2021 and beyond. My name is Julian Kauffeldt. I am co-founder of Alpora AG, which is a Swiss-based investment analytics company focusing on the topic innovation. I'm very happy that today my colleagues Ruth Schönleber and Niels Fetkenheuer are joining us as well. Niels as speaker and Ruth for the Q&A session. In the next half hour, we will present you the emerging technologies for the next years. We will talk about questions like what's coming next, which new technologies will occur, which technologies might lead to new products, new services, new processes, or even new business models. To answer these questions, we analyzed 964 scientific publications from last year, 2020, by using the intelligent algorithm and big data analytics approach and solution NetCollator. By using this solution, we identified 33 different emerging technologies for the next and upcoming years. These emerging technologies include topics like new sustainable materials, topics like new nano image processing technologies, or even new green manufacturing solutions. But before we start, I would like to say a few words about Alpora AG. Alpora AG is a Swiss-based investment analytics company focusing on the topic innovation. That means we measure the innovation efficiency of quoted companies to use this information for equity funds. Over the last years, several innovation equity funds have been initiated and created by Alpora AG together with our partners. The company Alpora has been founded in 2013 by 4 co-founders. Besides me, these are Professor Leo Brecht, who has decades of experience in the field of innovation research and who is professor at the University of Liechtenstein. Furthermore, we have Ruth Schönleber, who has a strong experience in the field of IT and is responsible for finance, marketing, and IT in our company. And we have Markus Breitenmoser, who has a strong background in finance and is responsible for the market development in our company. We get support by our team of 6 analysts with a very quantitative background. One of these analysts is Niels Fetkenheuer. Niels has been active in the field of analyzing and evaluating new emerging technology trends based on big data analytics for years now. And that's the reason why now Niels will take over and explain and present the new and emerging technologies for the next and upcoming years. Niels, the stage is yours.
So thank you very much for this nice introduction, Julian. So yeah, a warm welcome to everyone who's now joining us. I want to show you or give you a quick overview about the method we use to identify those emerging technologies by using our big data analytics approach, and then later going into detail to all the results we identified and we came up with, and then at the end come out with our conclusions, and I will summarize the insights we gain. So to start off, what is our big data analytics approach? We use one of the biggest scientific database there is by implementing our own search strategy to identify all scientific papers that are concentrate or have in their title and in their topic about emerging, innovative, new or disruptive technologies. And after we found out that data set, so here we identified nearly thousands publications in the year 2020, We use bibliometrics analysis to calculate the similarity based on cited references and lexical measures of each publication to each other. And with the help of our big data analytics software, the NetCollator, not only we can visualize the results, but also the software helps us to identify clusters and finding out similarities, again, based on, for example, the structure of a paper, a scientific paper, on the title or the abstract or the authorship and the keywords using within the scientific paper. For example, when you have a paper about blockchain and another paper about data security using in the abstract the word blockchain, these both papers have strong similarities, so therefore they are like drawn together, what you can see then on the visualization part of the NetCollator here on the right hand side. And for example, if you have a third publication about healthcare, what hasn't really any similarities with the word blockchain, so this is like drawn away. And that's why we have here the visualization of the 33 emerging technology, and we can identify therefore the research frontiers and clusters for this for the emerging technologies in 2020. And what you see actually here is that in just one overview, you can identify which clusters are stick together and which are the most precious topics. Of course, for example, each dot you see here on the graphic, it stands for one publication. So for example, in our rank #1 research frontier, there are the most publications, and number 33, there are the least publications, and therefore the focus from the scientific community is really based around #1 and then upwards or downwards. So now I present you our final results for the emerging technologies we identified for 2021. And as you can see, again, for our research frontier #1, the sustainable synthetic material technologies, and #2, methods for a sustainable economy, we identify the main focus for sustainability within these emerging technologies. And that's related, if you see here, the #5, clean mobility technologies, and then regarding to that, #6, renewable energy technologies, and then this is correlated again to #22 here at the middle and at the bottom, battery recycling technologies. So there's really a major drift and shift towards this topic. And the second most, I would say, precious or emphasis is, of course, the drive of digitalization. As you can see here, #3 with digital healthcare and medical technologies, or #4, next generation e-learning technologies. And this, when I looked through all the papers and the publications, that's not really about the digitization or the digitalization of maybe analog processes, but also evolving and develop and come up or research new emerging technologies regarding the digital trend with AI-based big data analytics or deep learning algorithms that enable new innovations in the healthcare and medical technologies based on this digital development, or based on this technology. So it's not about, for example, in the #4, next generation e-learning technologies, that you enable homeschooling or home office, but rather implement new technologies to help organization learning on a larger scale, driven again by big data, for example. So, of course, I could probably talk 1 hour straight about all these topics and each different research frontier. So we thought it might be really interesting to have just a deep dive into 4 topics. And therefore, I want to present you on the sustainable focus. Number 1, sustainable synthetic material technologies, then following up with green manufacturing solutions. And then afterwards, I link that to the battery recycling technologies. And therefore have, then really like connected. And on the other hand, I found it really interesting to share some of the insights we found in our research frontier number 27, gene sequencing and genotyping technologies. Of course, right now of the precious times of the pandemic and the SARS-CoV-2 virus impacting all our lives. And at this point, just a quick hint here, if you have any questions, you can use our Q&A tool and follow up some questions so we can answer them later, or when you have really a specific question about one another research frontier, I won't mention today, just give me, contact me on LinkedIn or by mail. So we have a further discussion on that topic. And also we will share afterwards, this webinar will be recorded, and also all the results are published on our website as well. So without further ado, I jump into our first research frontier in detail. And to start off, I won't go exactly like giving you a whole overview about this topic. I just want to focus on some of the technologies that are researched there. Again, it's the biggest research frontier, and therefore I don't want to get like too or make a too bigger overview. So I just want to focus on a few main research topics here and the sustainable synthetic material technologies. And first of all, I want to determine what is a sustainable material and what is a synthetic material. So sustainable, it's in 2 words, it's a material that it's reusable, it's recyclable, and therefore sustainable. And synthetic material is when you combine 2 different materials to, just plain speaking, to gain another material or used for a proper purpose or in a production cycle. For example, like plastic is such a synthetic material or synthetic fibers. And that's what I want to talk about, because I found out that a lot of research is going regarding to that topic, because we all know that the huge impact the clothing industry and the production cycles of the supply chain with producing all our clothes have, not only on the environment, but also on the resource efficiency. And therefore, I find it really interesting that research is looking for ways to recycle, for example, synthetic fibers. So if you see on the left-hand side, there's just like an infographic that shows you what research can do when you have materials that recycle polyester. So we have you use 90% less water, 85% less energy, and also, of course, then lower the pollution output and lower regarding the sulfur dioxide output in a larger scale. So this is what really science, not only in scientific fibers, there are a lot of more materials, but this is what science is trying to figure out here and is reaching and conducting research into that topic. On the other hand, I found out like 2 other, what's really related to that topic, main research topics here. It's first, or secondly, it's bio-based plastics and biodegradable plastics for now more mass market and suitable solutions. For example, the packaging and bags. The older traditional plastic bags will be obsolete in the near future. And thirdly, here it's about biofuels, and we see in the research fields that over the last years, not only that the research is finding, or science is finding ways to improve the production of, for example, crops or biomass that you need to produce a biofuel, to synthesize biofuels, but also improve the density of biofuels, so you have higher energy outputs and therefore can open up biofuels to a larger, I would say, yeah, a variety of use cases. And the last point I want to make here, because that was like, it made me laugh at the first, or at the first, because when I wrote this, that their research is like, developing something or is investigating the novel use of human hair as fiber in concrete, I couldn't believe that. And for me personally, I found it really interesting, because with this use case, I never thought of that. Maybe now within the pandemic, my hair is growing really too long, probably, and a lot of hair is getting wasted. But research is showing that, hey, if we use that to synthesize it with another material, we can create completely new materials or use cases and create sustainable synthetic materials to enable new innovations, enable new supply chains. So speaking of supply chains, I want to show you insights about our next research frontier, the green manufacturing solutions. And as I mentioned before, in the first research frontier, I went into detail into specific materials. And here I want to make a step back, because what research shows and the publications in this research frontier has shown me that science is here really looking for holistic concepts. So for examples, with the green manufacturing solutions, science, or for example here with the green hydrogen production, science is looking for holistic concepts to challenge up for the challenge to transforming manufacturing based on fossil fuels to change that to more renewable energy. So there you start, of course, with where you get your clean energy from, how is it transported, how is it distributed, and how it can be like implemented into sustainable supply and production chains. So this more or less, of course, theoretical and abstract thinking research is a lot of doing like meta studies, how to combine the energy sector, the transportation sector, and the manufacturing sector, see it as a whole, and therefore come up with holistic solutions combining all the sector, of course, their sectors, and for the greater goals of reducing environmental impact and maximize resource efficiency. And speaking of maximize resource efficiency, I want to give you now insights about a more specific and detailed research frontier, because there it's really about battery recycling technologies. And the publications shows at this cluster that maybe it's not a surprise to a lot of you guys, because you know we all use lithium-ion batteries the most because of their high intensity and their good value, or let's say their good performance output based on their volume. So this is also a problem, because it's really hard to recycle the lithium after its life cycle, end of its life cycle. So research is conducting heavily or investing heavily into just this one question, how we can reinventing the whole recycling cycles for lithium-ion batteries. So at the end of the recycling process, we can have, like, of course, and then you need high quality materials again to rebuild the battery as a whole part again. So what you see here on the left-hand side, what I want to show you here is just what all comes into place to just like cut a whole battery into all the different parts you need, and to just recycle it, and therefore you have a big challenge to keep the performance level up again. And here's the problem, as I mentioned before. But first we start here by, as you can see, there's like different methods used, and it starts with like shredding. So with the electrolyte extraction, you gain the organic carbonates and the lithium by itself. And there's always, what I found out, that I think there are methods now that you gain just 60 or 80% back of the lithium, so you can reuse it. So you have a heavy loss on each life cycle of a battery. But from there going on, you have different steps, like here magnetic separation for iron, and then thermal treatment, a way of smelting it for separate copper, aluminum, and graphite. And after that, there was the like the most precious part again is the hydrometallurgical process of leaching, like the rest of the electrodes that are left within all this process. Because when you follow there the stream, at the end of this leaching process, the cathode material will be like the last piece of the puzzle. And again, here, a lot of like the good, I would say, benefits of the cathode, because there's like with the electrodes, there's the performance of a battery is really important, that you have a lot of this cathode material, and it's within all this process, a lot of that is lost. And so again, research is trying to come up with new technologies regarding hydrometallurgical processes, for example, leaching, or pyrometallurgical processes like smelting. But also, a really not like the major part of research is conducting investigations into alternative solutions. For example, the bismuth-ion batteries. I never heard of that before, but it's quite interesting that science is trying to develop like a novel electrowinning process for copper and bismuth. So bismuth is just another material that have all like the electrodes benefits comparable to lithium, but it has like not the high intensity. For example, like why we use oil to burn it, or why we use lithium, because with the high intensity, when you use the materials, just plain speaking, you get a high energy output back. And bismuth is, so you need more volume, larger batteries for lesser performance. That's of course the main problem why it's not really industrialized yet, but still there are now, maybe we need more innovations, more maybe proper use cases in the industry, for example, with the power boxes to charge your phones. Maybe then you don't need lithium batteries, but you can use bismuth batteries that can, as of course of the intensity, can recycle them nearly up to 100%. And that will be a game changer in the near future. And to summarize that topic, the goal here is clear, and that's where the red thread is, that in this research frontier, scientists try to develop a novel environmental friendly recycling processes to regain all the materials you need to have 100% performance and battery again. So here will be like a little bit of a cut, again, leaving the topic of sustainability and now aiming for more like healthcare in this technology segment of gene sequencing and genotyping technologies. Because of the pandemic, I found it really interesting to share insights with you guys about this topic. And I want to start with what is it exactly, if you never heard of that before. In a really easy way, you just need like a stitch on the ear or on the finger. You need a little bit of blood. So you need the DNA of a patient. Then you analyze it. And then what the sequencing is all about, all the your nucleic acid parts of your DNA is then completely sequenced and can be outwritten by computers. And now big data analytics again come in place, so you can identify and map the whole genome of a human being. And with speaking of that, in the past, I think the Human Project, the Human Genome Project just started 1988 and took all the way to 2005 to just ever sequence a human genome and cost up to $1 billion. And this was like just 15 years ago. And this was just a starting point that right now, if you see here on the left infographic, that the costs per sequencing and genome typing or genotyping is reducing dramatically. And therefore the testing went up. And right now, maybe you hear of that, or you had like advertisement about like companies offering right now a test for your heritage to identify where your ancestors are from. So these companies already using this technology that was just invented 15 years ago. And the cost went from 1 billion to here it's like 100 euros or even lower right now. And the other part is that technology was so increasingly that it doesn't take you now 10 years to sequence all the genome, but just in one day you can sequence a genome of a human being, but also now we come more to another use case, of course, than with the virus, what's going on with the SARS-CoV pandemic. But with that being said, now we have these technologies and now new applications and new innovations are ready to go and are ready to have a greater impact in our lives and, for example, in the healthcare industry. So, for example, you can use this technology for early detection of hereditary diseases. So, for example, or that's combined with the cancer treatment or predetermining like your chance to getting cancer, course of when you see your genes or you look through them and they're like little parts that may be causing cancer. Now you can react and have maybe preventive treatments. And also regarding to the vaccine developments, we see that by reducing the time of understanding a virus, for example, or understanding an illness, right now we are more effective and we are really faster than ever before to adapt to a certain development. And right now I think the big pharma companies, they can track on a daily basis how the SARS-CoV virus have like certain mutations, and they can double check if the vaccine is still working and has still the effects that we all probably need, and that's safe again. And that's really like the dramatic change. And I truly believe that maybe in 5 years, again, it's more like a futuristic vision, but you have probably a blockchain safely hard drive code with your genetic code in it, combining with other healthcare data. And then now speaking of what I mentioned earlier, the third research frontier with like digital healthcare and medicine technologies, that then a doctor, a surgeon, or even healthcare personnel can use all this data to implement personalized medicine treatments based on the patient's genes or genomes. Of course, what you actually see when you look at genes and in specific, you can determine how a person is reacting to different treatments, how a doses of a drug has to be done to have the greatest or the best effect. And this being said is like improving a lot of the analytics and make up or has the potential to have a huge impact on the innovation or will come in the near future, and will probably improve the healthcare that's being done there. So at the end, I want to come up with the conclusion and to summarize our intel here. And as we mentioned, we determined and we identified 33 different emerging technologies from different or with a lot of variety within that, but also with a strong focus on new technologies in the area of sustainability. And their research and the scientific community is really focusing to reducing emissions, making supply chains sustainable, and have an impact or realize more resource efficiency or efficient products and innovations. So this will come in the near future, as well as the technological innovations and driven mostly by digitalization that in medical and healthcare will continue to increase innovations regarding telemedicine or surgical robots assisting surgeons based on AI and databases, and of course gene sequencing, as I mentioned before. And with all being said, our summary is that companies that adopt these emerging technologies and actively work on new sustainable solutions will realize economic success in the near future. Because right now, what we see in our trend research here with emerging technologies, that a momentum is going on, that sustainability has a great impact in not only probably in our science, but then for our society as a whole. And what we see when we look at China or Europe and America, and now with Europe's new Green Deal and the new administration in the US, that there's a lot of, I would say, pressure and the change of consumer habits, and this will continue to have a huge impact. So that the company have to adapt, and probably the most efficient, the best innovative companies will adapt quicker, and then have, or of course, will realize economic success in the near future. And speaking of that topic, here's just a quick reminder for our next webinar, holding by, again, Julian and a great colleague of mine, Fabian Stein, who is conducting his research over the last years, really into the connection between innovation and sustainability. So he's really now, bring all this aspect, what I maybe just had or presented a little overview on the corporate insights. So at this point, thank you a lot. And you might take over, Julian, or?
Yes, thank you very much, Niels. I think we have a few questions coming in, and Ruth would like to mention these questions, if there are any. There aren't any questions, so if you should have questions now concerning our emerging technologies, feel free to use our chat and we will be happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, you can find all documentation about all the 33 emerging technologies by visiting our website, alpora.com, where you can find selected publications, innovation insight articles, and a description of all these 33 emerging technologies. So as I see, we don't have any additional questions. Therefore, thank you very much, Niels, for the presentation, for all the insights. It was very interesting, I hope, and we thank you for your time, and would be happy to welcome you again within one of our next and upcoming webinars. Thank you very much.